Today, we're counting down 5 ultra-rare Washington quarters that have shocked collectors with their incredible values. Some of these coins look completely ordinary at first glance. Let's begin with a Washington quarter that many Americans have seen before, but very few realize could be hiding surprising value. At first glance, the 1967 Washington quarter looks like an ordinary coin from the pocket change era. Millions of people spent them, saved them in jars, and forgot about them for decades. But what if one of those forgotten quarters turned out to be worth far more than 25 cents? The year 1967 was an interesting time in American coinage history. The United States Mint was still dealing with a nationwide coin shortage, and because of that, mint marks were temporarily removed from circulating coins. That means every genuine 1967 Washington quarter was struck without a mint mark. While that may sound ordinary, it created a unique chapter in American coin collecting that continues to fascinate collectors today. Take a close look at your 1967 quarter. The first thing collectors examine is the condition. On an extra fine example, much of the original design detail remains visible. Washington's hair should still show strong separation above the ear, and many of the finer lines around the portrait remain sharp. On the reverse, the eagle should display noticeable feather detail with only light wear on the highest points. Coins that survived nearly 60 years in this kind of condition are becoming increasingly difficult to find. Now here's where things start getting interesting. Most circulated 1967 quarters are worth only a modest premium over face value. However, when a coin survives in extra fine condition, collectors begin paying closer attention. The value can rise significantly depending on eye appeal, surface quality, and originality. A beautiful, extra fine example can attract serious interest from collectors seeking high-quality coins from the late 1960s, but condition alone isn't the whole story. Some 1967 Washington quarters were struck with remarkable mint errors. These include off-center strikes, doubled die varieties, clipped planchets, and dramatic die cracks. When one of these rare errors appears on a well-preserved coin, the value can jump from a few dollars to thousands of dollars almost overnight. Imagine finding a 1967 quarter with a strong double design visible in key areas of the coin. Collectors have been known to compete fiercely for unusual examples, because these mistakes escaped the mint and entered circulation unnoticed. Decades later, they continue to surprise collectors and treasure hunters alike. And then there are the truly elite examples. A nearly perfect 1967 Washington quarter with exceptional preservation can command astonishing prices. Professional grading services carefully examine every detail, and when a coin earns one of the highest grades available, collectors often battle for the opportunity to own it. Some premium examples have reached values that would leave most people completely speechless. Think about that for a moment. A quarter originally worth just 25 cents could potentially be worth thousands, tens of thousands, and under extraordinary circumstances, even more. That's the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching through old coin collections every single day. Before you move on to the next coin, take a few moments to inspect any 1967 quarters you may have at home. Look closely at the date. Examine the details in Washington's hair. Check the eagle on the reverse, and search for unusual doubling or striking errors. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. And if you're enjoying these incredible coin discoveries so far, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next Washington quarter on our list has shocked collectors with values that climb even higher. Just when it seems impossible for an ordinary-looking Washington quarter to become even more surprising, the next coin on our list proves why collectors never stop searching through old change. The 1982D Washington quarter is a coin that many people overlook. After all, it was produced during a period when quarters were everywhere. Millions entered circulation, and most were spent without a second thought. But today, finding a well-preserved example from this year has become more challenging than many collectors expected. This particular coin is a 1982D Washington quarter in fine condition. At this grade, the coin has seen honest circulation over the years. Washington's portrait still remains clear, but noticeable wear appears on the higher parts of the design. The lettering and date remain readable, and the eagle on the reverse still displays its major features. Although many finer details have faded from decades of use, what makes the 1982D quarter especially interesting is the historical period in which it was struck. During the early 1980s, coin collecting activity was lower than it had been in previous decades. Because fewer people were saving rolls and bags of quarters, many coins entered circulation and stayed there. As a result, high-quality examples became surprisingly scarce years later. Now, here's where collectors start paying very close attention. Not every 1982D quarter is valuable, but certain examples have generated tremendous excitement in the collecting community. Coins showing unusual die varieties, striking abnormalities, or dramatic mint errors can command impressive premiums. A simple-looking quarter can transform into a collector's prize if it displays the right characteristics. Imagine discovering a 1982D quarter with a significant off-center strike. Suddenly, coin worth only face value becomes something entirely different. The same is true for strong die cracks, clipped planchets, and other mint-produced mistakes. These errors occurred during the manufacturing process and escaped into circulation, creating fascinating treasures for modern collectors. Another feature collectors watch closely is the overall quality of the strike. Some 1982D quarters display sharper than average details, while others reveal subtle characteristics that make specialists take a second look. Because millions of coins were produced under varying conditions, finding exceptional examples remains a challenge. But the biggest surprises often come from certified high-grade specimens. While a fine condition example serves as an important reminder of what circulated American coinage looked like during the early 1980s. Pristine examples have shocked the market with remarkable auction results. Coins preserved in extraordinary condition can command values far beyond what most people would ever imagine for a quarter. Think about the journey of this coin. It may have passed through countless cash registers, vending machines, pockets, and piggy banks. It may have bought a cup of coffee, paid for a newspaper, or disappeared into a forgotten drawer decades ago. Yet collectors continue searching for examples, because they know that hidden among ordinary quarters are pieces with extraordinary stories. This is exactly why experienced collectors never judge a coin by appearance alone. A worn quarter may not look impressive at first glance, but it can still hold historical significance and sometimes even unexpected value. So, if you come across a 1982D Washington quarter, don't dismiss it too quickly. Check the date carefully. Look for unusual features. Examine both sides under good lighting. Search for doubling, striking errors, and other characteristics that might separate it from the millions of ordinary examples. Because the next coin on our countdown takes the excitement to another level. As incredible as the 1982D quarter may seem, the Washington quarter coming up next has stunned collectors with values that climb even higher and has become one of the most talked about discoveries among modern coin hunters. If you thought the previous quarters were surprising, wait until you see what happens when collectors come across a 1974 Washington quarter that still looks almost new after more than 50 years. At first glance, a 1974 Washington quarter may not seem like anything special. Millions of Americans handled these coins during the 1970s. They were used for groceries, gas stations, restaurants, and everyday purchases across the country. Most people spent them without a second thought. But today, finding one in extra fine condition with an unusually fresh appearance can instantly grab a collector's attention. Take a close look at this 1974 quarter. Even though it shows slight evidence of circulation, much of the original detail remains remarkably sharp. Washington's hair still displays strong definition, the lettering appears crisp, and many of the finer design elements remain visible. What makes this coin especially attractive is its overall eye appeal. When a coin from 1974 still carries a bright, nearly new appearance, collectors immediately take notice. The story behind this coin becomes even more interesting when you consider its age. More than 5 decades have passed since it left the United States Mint. During that time, countless quarters from this year suffered heavy wear, scratches, environmental damage, and neglect. That's why examples that survive with strong detail and attractive surfaces continue to stand out. Now, here comes the part that gets collectors excited. The 1970 for Washington quarter is one of those dates that can occasionally surprise people when unusual mint characteristics are discovered. Certain examples have been found with dramatic strike errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, and other production abnormalities. These mint-created mistakes transform an ordinary quarter into something collectors eagerly pursue. Imagine searching through an old coin collection and finding a 1974 quarter with a major mint error hiding in plain sight. What appears to be an everyday coin could suddenly become the centerpiece of a collection. That's exactly why experienced collectors examine every detail carefully instead of focusing only on the date. Another factor that influences value is the quality of preservation. Extra fine examples already attract more attention than heavily worn pieces, but coins that maintain an unusually fresh appearance often generate even greater interest. Collectors appreciate originality, and a coin that still looks impressive after decades in existence can be surprisingly difficult to locate. Then there are the elite examples that have stunned the collecting world. Professional grading services occasionally encounter 1970 for quarters preserved at extraordinarily high levels. These coins show exceptional detail, strong luster, and outstanding eye appeal. When rare errors combine with superior preservation, values can rise dramatically. What started as a simple 25-cent coin can suddenly become worth hundreds, thousands, or even far more when the right combination of rarity and condition is present. Just imagine the excitement of discovering that a quarter sitting unnoticed in a coin album, old drawer, or inherited collection could be worth far beyond its face value. Those discoveries happen more often than most people realize, and they are one reason coin collecting remains such a fascinating hobby. The lesson from the 1970 for Washington quarter is simple. Never assume a common date means a common coin. Condition matters. Eye appeal matters. Mint errors matter. And sometimes, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance turns out to be anything but ordinary. Take a moment to check any 1974 quarters you have at home. Look closely at the surfaces. Examine the lettering. Study the details around Washington's portrait and the eagle on the reverse. Search for anything unusual, because one small detail can make all the difference. And don't go anywhere, because the next Washington quarter on our countdown pushes the excitement even further. The values become even more astonishing. The rarity becomes even more impressive. And the story behind the next coin is one that every collector dreams of discovering. Now, we're moving into the part of the countdown where things start getting truly exciting. The next coin is a 1981D Washington quarter. And this is exactly the kind of coin that many people overlook because it appears so ordinary at first glance. But as collectors have learned time and time again, ordinary-looking coins can sometimes produce extraordinary surprises. This particular 1981D quarter stands out because it has a remarkably fresh appearance while still fitting within a fine condition range. Even after more than 4 decades, the coin retains attractive eye appeal that immediately catches the attention of anyone familiar with Washington quarters. The design remains clear, the date is bold, and the overall appearance suggests a coin that survived the years better than many of its counterparts. The Denver Mint produced millions of quarters in 1981, and most entered circulation almost immediately. They passed through countless hands, cash registers, vending machines, and banks across America. Because of this heavy use, many examples became worn, damaged, or simply disappeared from collectors' attention. That's why attractive survivors continue to draw interest today. When examining a 1981D quarter, collectors first focus on the condition of Washington's portrait. Even moderate wear can remove important design details over time. On a more attractive example, however, much of the design remains visible and pleasing. The reverse side deserves just as much attention. The eagle lettering and rim should be carefully inspected for detail, strike quality, and any unusual characteristics. But here's where things begin to get interesting. Some 1981D Washington quarters have been discovered with mint-made errors that dramatically increase collector demand. These include off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and doubling that occurred during production. While such examples are uncommon, they remind collectors why every quarter deserves a careful inspection. Imagine sorting through a jar of old coins and spotting a quarter that looks slightly different from the rest. Maybe the strike appears unusual. Maybe part of the design seems doubled. Maybe there's a striking flaw that occurred during minting. Those are the discoveries that transform an ordinary afternoon of coin searching into an unforgettable moment. Collectors also understand that appearance matters. A coin that still looks bright and attractive decades after it was minted often receives more attention than one with dull surfaces or heavy wear. Eye appeal can make a tremendous difference when buyers compete for desirable examples. And then there are the premium specimens that have generated headlines among collectors. When a 1981D Washington quarter survives in exceptionally high grades with outstanding detail and strong original surfaces, values can rise far beyond what most people expect. Add a significant mint error into the equation, and the results can be astonishing. Some rare combinations of condition and error characteristics have brought prices that leave collectors shaking their heads in disbelief. Think about it. A coin originally worth only 25 cents could potentially become worth hundreds, thousands, or even much more under the right circumstances. That's the magic of coin collecting. Hidden value often exists where people least expect it. If you've been enjoying these incredible Washington quarter discoveries, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries and have notifications turned on. New valuable coin stories are constantly emerging, and you never know when the next one could involve a coin sitting right in your own collection. As exciting as the 1981D quarter may be, we're not finished yet. The final coin on this countdown is the one that truly raises the stakes. Its story is even more fascinating, its collector demand is even stronger, and its potential value has shocked coin enthusiasts across the country. You won't want to miss what's coming next. And now, we've reached the final coin on today's countdown. The coin that proves why millions of Americans continue checking their pocket change. Old coin albums and inherited collections every single year. At first glance, this 1972 Washington quarter may not look like a treasure. In fact, this example is in fine condition and even shows a few signs of damage from years of circulation. To most people, that would seem like enough reason to overlook it completely. But experienced collectors know something important. Sometimes the most surprising discoveries come from the coins that appear the least impressive. The 1972 Washington quarter was produced during a busy period in American coinage. Millions were struck and released into circulation, where they quickly became part of everyday life. They bought groceries, paid tolls, and passed through countless hands across the country. Because they were so common, very few people thought about saving them. More than 50 years later, that decision continues to create fascinating opportunities for collectors. When examining a fine condition 1972 quarter, the first thing you'll notice is moderate wear throughout the design. Washington's portrait remains visible, but many of the finer details have softened over time. The reverse eagle still shows its overall shape, although some feather detail has worn away through decades of use. This kind of honest wear tells the story of a coin that actually served its purpose in American commerce. Now, let's talk about the damage. Many collectors automatically assume that a damaged coin has no value. While damage can certainly reduce collector interest in many cases, it also forces experts to look more carefully. That's because what appears to be damage isn't always damage. Sometimes unusual marks, distortions, or irregular features can actually be the result of a mint error rather than post-mint wear. This is where things become truly exciting. Certain 1972 Washington quarters have been discovered with striking abnormalities, dramatic die cracks, off-center strikes, and other mint-produced errors that completely transform their desirability. To an untrained eye, some of these features may simply look like flaws. To a knowledgeable collector, they can represent something far more important, Imagine finding a 1972 quarter that appears damaged, only to discover that the unusual feature occurred during the minting process itself. Suddenly, what looked like an ordinary worn coin becomes a fascinating piece of mint history. These are exactly the kinds of discoveries that keep collectors searching through thousands of quarters. Year after year, the 1972 issue also attracts attention because high-grade examples have become increasingly difficult to locate. While many coins circulated heavily, small numbers survived with exceptional preservation. When collectors encounter those rare, top-quality specimens, competition can become intense. And now comes the moment that every coin hunter dreams about. While a typical fine condition 1972 quarter is usually modest in value, rare error examples and elite certified specimens have produced astonishing results in the collector market. Under the right circumstances, values can climb into the thousands of dollars. Exceptional examples with highly desirable characteristics have generated incredible excitement whenever they appear for sale. Just think about that. A coin that many people would toss into a change jar without a second thought could potentially be hiding a story worth far more than its face value. That's why successful collectors never judge a coin too quickly. Before we finish today's countdown, remember these important clues for identifying potentially valuable Washington quarters. Always check the date carefully. Look for unusual doubling in the design. Examine the rims for off-center strikes. Search for die cracks, clipped planchets, and other mint-made errors. Pay attention to overall condition, because preservation can make a tremendous difference in collector demand. And most importantly, never assume that an ordinary-looking quarter cannot be special. Today's 5 Washington quarters have shown us exactly why this hobby remains so exciting. From the 1967 quarter that emerged from the coin shortage era, to the 1982D survivor, the attractive 1970, for example, the eye-catching 1981D quarter, and finally, this fascinating 1972 coin. Each one tells a unique story of American history and hidden value. The next time you receive change, open an old coin jar, or sort through a family collection, take a closer look. The quarter sitting in your hand might not be worth just 25 cents. It could be the discovery that every collector dreams about. Thanks for watching us Mint Mysteries. If you enjoyed this countdown, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment telling us which Washington quarter surprised you the most. And remember, some of America's greatest coin treasures are still waiting to be found.